Hey guys, some gamer dude here, lots to cover today. The end of Dark Alice and the start of Gill Lapis, so I can finally talk about him. Let's just get started, shall we? Let's start with the Dark Gambling Hall, a Lightness Dark Edition fairy tale for Black-White. Another target for both Jean and Sigurd. You can tap it, banish all crystals you have, and your opponent calls odds or evens. Reveal the top card of your deck, and if your opponent calls wrong, gain double the crystals you originally had. It's a cute way to generate a ton of crystals fast, but you will need to construct your deck as close to 50-50 odds, evens as possible. Not sure how realistic this is, since I'd need to make a deck, but it seems doable. The problem comes from even if you pull this off, it's still a coin flip. 50-50 chance you waste all your crystals. That said, this is probably the budget version of Schrodinger, since Schrodinger is the most effective at gaining crystals and is of the highest rarity, something that might be unavailable to most. I'm not sure I'd even bother. I'd just rather find some other more reliable crystal generation. Soul Dealer is support for Dark Gambling Hall, a Darkness Light 600/600 fairy tale resonator for Black-White. Enter ability to tutor a Gambling Hall from your deck to the board, and you can tap to rearrange the top two cards of your deck. This is meant to help Gambling Hall, but I think the only time that it works is if you don't have a 50-50 split and you can use this to screw with your opponent. But I think over time your opponent will pick up if you have a tell or something. Honestly, I think this card is better as a pseudo scry. I wouldn't want to use either of these cards. Strodingers Cry is a light, quick cast mage art chant for white and quite a powerful one. Remove target rested resonator. If you awaken for a light crystal, cantrip. Wowzers! That is one hell of a strong card. Leaning right up against broken. Leaning right up there. The cantrip is great and all, but the main effect targets blockers, attackers, and tap effects. It's extremely versatile. As soon as your opponent uses a card, it's vulnerable. I reckon this is a white staple. The downside isn't much of a downside, and I'd argue it's about on par with Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile from Magic, two extremely powerful cards. Playing light, get a set. Simple as. Cage of Mother Goose is a Darkness Light fairy tale edition for Black-White, but can also be paid by tapping a fairy tale. When this card enters the field, you remove a non-J-Rule or non-Magic stone from the game, and that card is returned to your opponent's hand when this card leaves the field. That's quite powerful too. Thematics with the fairy tale paying the cost aside, something that isn't terribly impressive as the card doesn't have quick cast, this is basically a stronger Journey to Nowhere, as that card doesn't bounce the target when it leaves the field, nor is Journey able to target additions, or should I say enchantments. I guess the dual cost is used to answer White's super strong, and like Cry, I don't think this is broken, but it's very, very strong. Like a lot of the Dark Alice cards, it's incredibly versatile. Just mentioning this, the Vin Golf 3 stones are getting reprints. I'm happy about this. Don't know how many of them will be reprinted though. Alice Zero and Faith Sing aren't terribly relevant right now, but I assume Sylvia will be. Hopefully they revisit this idea down the track, as I'd like to see Valentina Magic Stones. So let's get into our next ruler, the return of Gill Lapis. Gill Lapis is a Wanderer Mono Darkness ruler, judgment cost of Black Moon. He fits right in with the 7 Kings rulers. If a regalia of a specific attribute comes into play, choose one effect of the following. If it's his, choose another. For Gill, that's Darkness, and his sword, the World Ender. The choices are to look at the top 3 cards of your deck for a card and place it into your hand, then put the rest on the bottom of your deck. Your other choice is to name a card and you gain Limit Break that card's name. We don't know exactly how Limit Break works, but it seems to be a state you gain that unlocks effects on other cards. It's very restricted compared to older mechanics similar to this, as it's per card. As a side note, the J-Ruler form of Gill Lapis has Limit Break. Finally, you can pay the attribute costs of Moon Arts and Minions with any will, which is interesting. This is one of those effects that will get better as we get a better idea of Lapis's deck. We still have to see a lot as we still lack a way in New Frontiers to cast Judgment with Gill Lapis. We can't produce Moon for this use. On the J-Ruler side, Gill Lapis is a 1200 flying wanderer. Enter effect that searches your deck for a minion type resonator, places it onto the field, and gives you the limit break for that resonator. Another effect we won't know how good it is, but has the potential to be really good. Then he has his own limit break effect. +800, +800, and precision. So he becomes a flying 2000 with precision. Okay then, that's going to be something to deal with. You can, it's just hard. It's hard to outpower it, and the game doesn't have a whole lot of power buffs right now. Not that it even really matters, we'll get to that. Because of the way the card is written, I'm fairly sure the rest of the effects are also unlocked by Limit Break. You can rest him to destroy a resonator and use your God Arts again. This is plural, I'm not sure why. Maybe that'll be revealed later. But Gill Lapis's own God Art going off multiple times is downright terrifying. Lapis's God Art is Promogenitor's Ambition. For Black Moon, this card gets your opponent's resonators gain -400, -400. The original Dark Alice is Valpurgis Knight, but better and repeatable. After just 2 goes, your opponent's 2-drops die the moment they hit the board. But it gets better, and by better, I mean worse. World Ender is Lapis's Regalia for Black. As standard it has Mythic, and this one gives your J-Ruler Imperishable. So Gill Lapis will keep coming back if he dies. Delightful. So you need to deal with this, which currently only Darkness, Light and Fire can do, then deal with Gill Lapis himself. The tools to do that are being rotated out if we don't get J-Ruler kill here or the next set. That sits real well. The card can also produce Black Moon for God's Art, Moon Art, and Minions. Standard fare. I'm not going to jump to too many conclusions till we see AO4 in completion, but Gill Lapis terrifies me. I don't think enough hate for it exists. Summoning a minion is a Darkness, Moon Art chant with a cost of Black X. It searches your deck for a minion with a total cost of X or less and places it onto the board. This seems a bit strong too. Again, really depends on what minions get made. This is the equivalent of playing 4 extra copies of every single minion. I'll probably return to this card when minions that you'd want to actually play turn up. Speaking of minions, here's Percival, the holy grail of the Black Moon. Here's the answer to what I was asking last time about whether Jean was the Dark Percy or not. This Percy definitely has the nicest art by a very wide margin. Standard Percy fare, she searches for a Regalia or a minion and banishes to put a minion from discard on the top of your deck. Again, let's see where minions go. Finally, we have Miriah the Fallen Vampire. A 400 Darkness Minion Vampire Resonator with Flying, 4 black. She's got a fair few effects. When she enters, she deals 400 damage to a Resonator and you gain 400 life. She also does the same when she's revealed by Lapis's top 3 search. This is fine for dealing with 1-drops. Well, it was. And finishing off some cards that you've already done damage to. She also has a limit break effect that doubles her damage. So when you play World Ender, you call out Miriah, then she can pick off most everything up to 4-drops. That's not bad actually. This might be the first card I've liked in Lapis's arsenal. I like how it plays to both Lapis and World Ender. I think if Lapis had been more about limit break and not a giant J-Ruler with flying, precision and imperishable, I wouldn't be so worried. This actually looks like fun. So that's it for this week. This has been some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.